Hey everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive. We're tackling something today that I know a ton of you are super interested in, and I have to say, me too,
Oh, yeah. What's that?
child development. And you know what's really cool is that we're actually basing this whole deep dive off of one of the most popular videos over on the BabyPillars YouTube channel.
I've seen that one.
It's all about, those key stages that kids go through as they grow and develop. And honestly, even though my kids are a bit older now, I still found it super insightful. So we're going to kind of break down the highlights and see what we can all learn from it.
Sounds good to me. I'm always up for revisiting the basics, especially when it comes to something as complex as child development.
Right. It's one of those things that you think you have a handle on, and then bam, your
Yeah.
kid does something totally unexpected, and you're like, okay, new territory.
Exactly. So where do we even begin with something as big as child development? It's like, do we start with the science of the brain, or like what even is a developmental milestone?
Well, the video actually starts with a really simple definition. Like, what does child development even mean?
Okay, I'm listening.
They basically say it's this ongoing process where kids, you know, gain new abilities and master all sorts of skills.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like everything from taking those first steps, which, by the way, still melts my heart every time I see a baby do it,
Oh, absolutely.
to something as like intricate as tying their shoes, which, let's be honest, can be a real struggle for some kids.
Oh, tell me about it. I think I was tying my kids' shoes until they were like 10. But yeah, I get it. It's all these little skills, right?
Yeah, exactly. And those skills, well, they tend to pop up during like predictable periods of time.
Which is where those developmental milestones
Yes,
come in, right?
bingo. The video uses the phrase guideposts, which I really liked, because it's not like every kid hits every milestone at exactly the same age, but it gives us a general idea of the progression, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Like a framework.
Okay, so are you ready to dive into the 5 core areas of development that the video covers?
Hit me with it. I'm ready.
Right. We've got cognitive, social, and emotional, speech and language, fine motor skills, and last but not least, gross motor skills.
Classic. And I think it's important to remember that, while we often get super excited about the physical milestones, like walking and talking, a lot of it really stems from cognitive development.
Right. It's like the brain is the engine driving all this growth.
Exactly. It's the foundation for everything else.
So let's break down cognitive development a bit.
Sounds good to me.
Basically, it's all about how a child thinks, learns, and, figures things out, problem solving.
Like a tiny little scientist, always experimenting.
Totally. So think about a baby who's trying to reach for a toy. They're using their senses, experimenting with different movements, or, a preschooler working on a puzzle, trying different pieces, figuring out how they fit together.
And it goes even further than that, right? As kids get older, they start to grasp more abstract concepts like cause and effect.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. Or even like understanding the passage of time, which, let's face it, is something even adults struggle with sometimes.
So true. Okay, so building on that foundation of cognitive skills, we have social and emotional development, which is, a whole other world.
Oh, yeah. This is the one that can really keep you on your toes as a parent.
Totally. Because it's not just about, like, how well-behaved a kid is, right? It's about them learning to understand their own emotions.
And other people's emotions, too.
Exactly. And how to manage those big feelings.
Which, honestly, is something a lot of us are still working on.
For real. But yeah, we see those early milestones, like when a baby first waves bye-bye, which is always adorable.
Or when they start to understand the idea of sharing, even if they're not always thrilled about it.
Totally. Or taking turns, which is a big one for preschoolers.
And those are such important skills for building healthy relationships.
Speaking of skills, let's tackle speech and language development. I mean, it's just mind-blowing to think about how kids go from those first babbles and coos to, like, full-blown conversations.
It really is incredible. And remember, it's not just about talking.
Oh, right. It's about understanding, too.
Like, they have to learn to comprehend what others are saying. And that's linked to cognitive development, too, right? Like, they need to understand a concept before they can put it into words.
Totally. But it's just so fun to witness, like hearing your kids say their first word.
Or when they start putting together those little sentences like, "Mommy up," or "Daddy, cookie."
And then, of course, there's the phase where they become little grammar police, correcting everything we say.
It's not foots, Mommy. It's feet.
Exactly. It's like they suddenly become mini linguists.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to fine motor skills, which are all about those tiny, precise movements.
The little things.
Yeah, things like, picking up a tiny object, using a spoon or fork, turning the pages of a book.
Oh, and don't forget those first attempts at drawing and writing.
Oh yeah, those scribbles that turn into, like, actual pictures eventually.
It's amazing how much coordination and control it takes to do those things that we, like, totally take for granted.
Right. And it takes time and practice.
Oh, definitely. A lot of patience, too, especially in those early years.
All right, ready for gross motor skills? The big moves.
Bring it on!
So this is all about using those large muscles, for things like sitting up, crawling, walking, running, jumping.
It's all about exploring their world through movement.
Right, exactly. And the progression is so clear, like a baby starts by rolling over, then maybe they can sit with some support.
And then they start pulling themselves up, cruising along furniture.
And then, bam, those first wobbly steps. And before you know it, they're running and jumping and climbing all over the place.
And with each new skill, they gain more independence, more confidence. It's incredible to watch.
I know. Okay, so we just zipped through a ton of information, but hopefully this gives you a good overview of those 5 core areas of child development. And, the BabyPillars video that we're basing all of this on is a fantastic starting point, but it really just scratches the surface.
It does. And honestly, the more you learn about these stages, the more you realize how much there is to know.
Totally. It's like this never-ending journey of discovery.
But understanding these stages, even at a basic level, can be so empowering for parents.
Oh, absolutely. It's like having a roadmap.
Yeah.
Right. Not to say that every kid is going to follow the exact same path.
Right, of course not. Every kid is unique.
Exactly. But it helps you understand those general patterns of development.
And anticipate what might come next, so you can be ready to support your child in the best way possible.
Totally. And if you are interested in learning more, definitely check out the full video course from BabyPillars. We'll put a link in the show notes so you can easily find it. But before we go, we'd love to leave you with something to think about.
Something to ponder.
Yeah. Like, how has your understanding of these stages, changed the way you view children and their development?
It's a big question, but it's something that we're constantly thinking about as we parent our own kids.
And, as we continue to learn and grow ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.